In this video, I'm going to explain the 4 fatal traps that any dentist can fall into while making his or her own dental practice. Also, I'll tell you what I did when I ran into this situation. Yes, I've made these mistakes, but you may be thinking, sure, location is important and all, but I'm a dentist and all dentists do well, right? Yes and no. The failure rate of a dentist is 1%, but there is a difference between barely hanging on and becoming super successful. I want to share my story so that you won't have to make the same costly mistakes that I've made. So imagine this. You're a dental student again, and you have to find your dentist mentor at his dental practice. So he gives you an address, and you drive, and the GPS takes you around the area. And then the GPS ends early, and obviously you're not at the destination because, well, it's at some weird place full of trees. Sort of like this random picture scenario. You're driving around and you can't find a place. What would you do? Well, what I thought of and immediately did was pull up the phone and asked, "Hi, I'm the new mentee, and I'm having a hard time finding your place." Now, I don't want to offend a guy, so I'm going to do a Google map of a random dental office for the sake of this story. Keep in mind that this is a real dental office, and I blocked off all of the identifiers so you can't identify this dentist. Again, I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but we just have to objectively look at it here. Let's take a look at this Google map of this random dental office. The dental office is marked here with my green arrow. If you look at the left side of this office, you'll notice that it's surrounded by non-productive empty land. So this will be denoted by gold circles. Next, let's talk about the nearby population. Shown in red, you get a sparse population. Moreover, these are single-family homes for the most part. There aren't that many homes and the population is low in the grand scheme of things. What I look for are more apartment complexes. Next, we have a major business nearby, noted by the light blue circle. Unfortunately, it's far away enough that no passive traffic goes into the dental office. So how would patients find and get to this dental office? Let's take a look. The arrows in pink should show the major pathways to get into the dental office. Pretty tough to get to, I'd say. So, in summary, there's no activity on the left side of the dental practice, low population, far away from any meaningful traffic, and it's hard to get to. This is what we call a fail. This is not something you want to do. So, these are the points thus far. Trap number 1. Don't build near a low-level activity area. In this case, it's going to be the empty land on the left side of the dental practice. Trap number 2. Don't build so far away from the main road. As you saw, it was a hard place to get to. Trap number 3. Don't build near a low population area. I personally prefer high population densities and, if possible, lots of apartment complexes as well. But hold up. There's obviously something good about this location, right? I mean, why else would a dentist contract with a landlord in a place like this? It's far away and less desirable. And less desirable items tend to cost less. Rent could be lower. Then let's create a hypothetical situation. So we should compare 2 different offices. The office that we just saw and an ideal dental office location. We'll call this office trap and office ideal. For the sake of simplicity, let's also assume that it's the same size and everything about it is the same except for the location and the rent. We shall give favor to office trap and state that office trap's rent is about 50% lower than office ideal's rent. Let's assume that office trap's rent is $5,000 and office ideal's rent is $10,000. Office trap's yearly rent is then $60,000 versus office ideal's rent at $120,000. Now we have to find out how much the clinic is actually making. In order to do that, we'll have to see what the percentage of revenue, which is the money made thus far, comes out to pay for rent. So, what percentage of revenue is allocated for rent? Is it A, 1%, B, 4%, C, 10%, or D, 20%? Interestingly, the answer is B, 4%. Google states that dental offices pay 4% of their revenue to rent, though it can vary by a percentage or two. This is the average. If that's true, we now divide 0.04 for the yearly rent number. $60,000 divided by 0.04 equals $1,500,000 in gross revenue versus $120,000 in yearly rent divided by 0.04 equals $3 million in gross revenue. Alright, So please listen to me carefully here. This is where the magic happens. Office Trap has revenued $1.5 million and Office Ideal's revenue is $3 million. And after paying their rents, the revenue after rent payment is Office Trap is left with $1,440,000 versus Office Ideal's $2,880,000. Keep in mind that there's other expenses, but still, I'd rather pay my expenses from a higher net number because the starting point is much better. Now, I get it. For all you people out there stating that it's more complex than this, you are right. And that's why we're oversimplifying it. There are many factors that make a dental office successful or not. In my experience, picking the right location is one of the key factors of success. How do I know? Well, most of our franchisees do significantly over $3 to $6 million, and one of our owner docs currently averages $9.5 million a year. That and our average rent is about $15,000 per month. Just saying. So that brings us to trap number 4. Don't go to any location just for low rent. That's going to be your Trojan horse. It doesn't matter what type of patients you take. You can take medical assistance, PPO, fee for service, because visibility is key. You know, there was a time when I made the most stupid and obvious mistakes. I got disillusioned by the idea of buying a building and running my own dental practice. This is pretty much the end goal for every dentist out there. And you know it's true too. It's like ingrained in our brains for some reason. I think it could be done well, but when I first started, I wanted the status and I definitely paid the price. It didn't end up too well. 2 years after graduating dental school, I bought a building and a dental practice in it. Boom. All the equipments were functional, existing patients, the team ready to go. Hell yeah. I thought I achieved what all dentists strive for until I saw the problems that came with it. By the time the transaction was finished, I regretted it right after 1 week. So the parking situation was one of them. It was more annoying than I thought, and this small building had no opportunity to grow operatories. So I've achieved success in name only. It's like being a baby lion that was born into this world and roars, "Rawr, I'm a lion," only that a mother giraffe can trample all over it. But anyways, if you have parking issues, you will have angry late patients, phone calls from angry patients and patients not even entering the clinic. And this brings us to trap number 5. Avoid limited, difficult parking. So the easiest way to avoid all of this is to find good parking. And it's not easy as you think, man. You think you can make it work, but then reality hits. Just make sure it's good. Despite all of this, I had it made though. I had an associate that was churning out money, and I even had a hygienist in there. It was busy. And then another problem hit. Patients kept coming in and we had no extra chair. The hygienist would be upset because she needed the chair, and the associate was ambitious and seating the patients in the chairs too. So it was a conundrum. If we only had associates there, we couldn't get enough procedures done due to, the inadequate hygiene treatment plans, and we couldn't even put the hygienists in there by themselves. Which brings us to trap number 6. Make sure you have enough room to grow your dental practice. But yeah, in this situation, what could I do? Well, the obvious answer could be to get more operatory chairs, but then we have no room. So what will we do? I'll tell you what I did in a bit. But first, as promised, I will show you my mistakes with actual pictures and proof. Now, before I show you, please don't judge me too harshly, okay? I was foolish and I was only out for 2 years in dental school. Ta-da! This is the dental building and the practice that I bought. A building that has a billboard which pays me monthly, existing patients that come in to see me, and a basement where I can have my private office in. But the problem is it was a 3-chair office and no room for growth. On top of that, parking was pretty crappy. The only thing good about it was the location. If you look here, we have a lot of apartment complexes nearby, and it's on a 4-way intersection, and we have maximum exposure to the main roads. Location is a 10 out of 10 for me. For the sake of this video, I was going to show you the parking lot, but this is not a great representation because the business that came in after me is a car renting business, so it's more stacked. We could only fit like maximum of 8 to 10 cars before. Okay, so what's the panacea, the cure-all for all of this? Well, it's time to sell. Yes, that is the ticket to get out. Sell your practice at or slightly above its worth. I wouldn't worry about the price of your dental clinic too much because what you're actually losing is time. And time is one of those commodities you don't want to lose. In my case, I just sold the building and moved on to something much bigger, like a 20-chair office that I built from scratch. Had I held on to this building, I would have started it a lot later or not at all. So how do you not make the mistakes that I've made and find the ideal location? Well, I'm glad you asked. Click on this video and I'll explain who I hired to find a perfect location and what online tool I use to find a revenue generating dental office.